Coming up next on The Voice of Alabama Politics, 10 Commandments in schools. Also, new revelations and a ballot challenge. And Alabama lawmakers say no rioting in church.
The beard! Praise God! And God bless the United States of America!
Man, that ain't a riot. That's bringing them to church. All this and much, much more coming up next on The V. Welcome to The Voice of Alabama Politics, where we tackle the tough issues so you have the hard facts. I'm your host, Bill Britt, and as always, I'm joined by Susan Britt, research guru extraordinaire, and the man of the hour, Josh Moon, investigative reporter at APR and columnist as well. Welcome.
Yeah, right. Oh, the man of the hour makes it sound like I'm about to get a prize.
Well, you know, Josh,
we won't go down that
if you
road.
got all the prizes you deserved, you'd almost have as much stuff as Andy Liu.
Oh yeah, well I don't. We'd have to move.
Yeah,
Move as it is. So, yeah.
It's funny. You know, it's this bill, the bill that makes it a Class C felony to cause a disturbance in a church or riot in a church or protest in a church. In theory, I can get on board with that, right? I can get on board with that. What is difficult for me, and I think what is difficult for the opposition to the bill, is this is taking time to pass a bill that doesn't affect the state. This is a result of what happened in Minnesota. So we spend time on these preventative bills that we don't have any problems with. I mean, Susan, it just seems to me it might be a great bill, but why are we wasting so much time on it?
Because it's an election year and it gets attention. That's the simple answer to that one. I mean, they over and over again, pass bills for hypothetical situations that might happen sometime in the future. Instead of, as Linda Coleman Madison said, why don't we work on what is actually wrong with the state and instead of wasting time on what might happen in the future? But the bottom line is it's an election year, and this gets attention.
Josh, the only time I have ever seen a full-scale riot in the church is when a preacher unleashed a bag of snakes. And I can tell you, I didn't stay around for the remainder of the sermon, but, it might have been a riot, but, it was a legal one, I guess.
Yeah, there's been some incidents on Sand Mountain, I'd say, of some snakes getting loose.
Yeah.
But, listen, as far as I know, rioting at a church is already illegal. This has happened, one time, and if I'm not mistaken, here's what I don't understand. Has there not been an extraordinary high number of shootings in churches?
Oh, yeah.
Has this not occurred? Am I losing my mind? And so why are we passing legislation because Don Lemon and some folks showed up to ask some questions at a church when we didn't bother to pass any sort of legislation and, matter of fact, made excuses for the guns involved in the church shootings? That happened. I mean, if we're worried about really protecting churches and the people inside of them, I would have thought that we would have passed it back when people were being murdered inside of churches, not just having an inconvenient question asked of them and somebody disrupting the service every once in a while. I don't. This is It's because we're governed by stupid people, and they don't know how to govern, and they don't. I mean, seriously, it's what it is. They don't have anything else to do, and this gets attention, and it riles up the church people, and they can go and talk about how the Christians are persecuted, because we all know that the Christianity is just on the verge of being extinguished in this entire state, and it's just teetering right on the brink. I mean, the other day I passed a corner where there weren't two churches, so I mean, I know that we're really close to this Christianity just falling to the wayside, and so it's playing to the religious beliefs and the woe is me victimhood of a lot of white Christian males now, and so this is another play to that nonsense. That's all it is, and it's you're right. It's a waste of time, and we're just doing this because Don Lemon might show up to our church in section, and seriously, get out of here. It's
No, and it is a pandering bill. That's all it is. But again, I'm not in principle against it. Any more than I don't want people protesting or rioting in synagogues or in mosques or in any place of worship. I'm against that. But again, we're just reacting rather than to.
Listen, I don't want them to riot at the Dunkin' Donuts. I mean, if you're at a private business or you're at a private place, there's laws against going in and disrupting the business and doing those sorts of things. Well, you have the right to public assembly, but it's got to be in a public place, or there's a law already against these things to stop it. I mean, come on.
And I think they have the perfect antidote here for all of the problems in the state. Once again, the legislation is moving to put the 10 Commandments into schools.
Seeing a pattern here?
Now, the biggest problem I don't have a problem with 10 Commandments, okay? You want to live by the 10 Commandments and not cheat on your wife? I'm good with that. I'm not into that. You don't want to covet your neighbor's ass? I'm cool with that, but capitalism kind of covers your, covets your neighbor's ass. What I'm really worried about is that this Representative Mark Gilley, who's pushing this bill, did the most ignorant thing that a politician can do, and that is not know his history. And he was saying, this, our Constitution and our laws and all this stuff stem from the Bible. No, they don't. No. They stem from the Enlightenment period. That is a lie made up to convince you that we are somehow a Christian nation. It did not come from the Bible.
No. Listen, those pages were blank. When they started writing out the Bill of Rights and the Constitution and all that, they were blank. They could have put anything they wanted down there. And they went through great debates. You can look this stuff up. I mean, you can find. Well, I assume you still can. We may have during the Trump administration burned all the historical documents. I don't know, but you can go and find where they had these debates and documented their back and forth on this stuff and why they chose to go with religious freedom, where you have the right not to practice a religion and no one can force one upon you. And that for years we took great pride in this because we've noticed over in the Middle East all of the bombings in in Israel and Gaza and come on, what are you talking about? Do you not see the results of this? I mean, what are we doing?
They worked the founding fathers worked really hard on something called the separation of church and state. The last thing they wanted was for religion and politics to intermingle, which is what's happening nationwide, and it's killing this country.
It is, and the idea that people in this country have no seemingly knowledge of the foundation of this country is absurd.
Especially leaders of our state.
But we're going to have to leave it right there. You're watching the voice of Alabama politics. We'll be right back.
Your home is your most valuable asset. But what if someone tried to steal it from you? Property fraud is one of the fastest growing areas of fraud in the country today.
As a district attorney, I've seen firsthand the devastating effects of property fraud. That's why I'm proud to support the Montgomery County Probate Court's REACT program.
REACT is designed to protect your property and to give you peace of mind. By signing up, you'll receive an email notification if a document is filed against your property.
This program is a game changer. It has the potential to prevent fraud and protect countless homeowners throughout Montgomery County.
So don't wait. Sign up for REACT today and protect your home.
Protect your home with REACT. Sign up today.
Alabama has a hands-free driving law, and that means you can't hold your mobile phone while making a call. Oh, and no writing messages, recording, or watching videos either. Plus, you can only use a single button or swipe of a finger to answer a call. So what's a driver to do? Alabama's hands-free driving law is in effect. Follow it.
Welcome back to the voice of Alabama politics. Susan, there may be a case of the pot calling the kettle black here. It turns out that a review of Secretary of State Wes Allen's campaign account shows the likelihood that he paid for the challenge that former Rep. Isbell made against John Wall. Now, what it was, Al Agricola represented former Representative Isbell, who lodged a challenge with ALGOP, and he said it was, a good faith challenge and blah 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 blah. Well, it comes out that was paid for out of Wes Allen's campaign account. And then Isbell comes forward and goes, well, yeah, I mean, I basically lied the first time I told you he wasn't involved. But now, it was teamwork.
Yeah, well, it was, Wes Allen paid him, I believe, on January 26th. The 75-page document written by Al Agricola showed up 3 days later in Gil Isbell's hands, who first, as you said that, no, it didn't have anything to do with that, and then later told 1819, yeah, Wes Allen paid him to do it. Was it brilliant? Yeah, that was a great strategy, and this is over the residency issue. But isn't that kind of a little dirty?
And look, nothing illegal occurred here that I know of, but this was one of those things, Josh. And I think the world of Wes Allen's campaign manager, I think she is brilliant. But this is the kind of stuff that can come back and bite you in the butt, that you just shouldn't set yourself up to have happen.
No, I don't. I mean, first of all, what a waste of $20,000. My God. You know what I'm saying? Nothing worked out the way you wanted it to work out with this. And I just, I don't understand any of this. I don't understand why it was paid. I don't understand why, if you were gonna pay it, you didn't figure out a better way to hide it in some way instead of just paying the guy and then having him submit it. I mean, it just doesn't. I don't know. The whole thing is just really kind of confusing to me. It's almost like they wanted them to know that they did this, and it just. Because it took no time at all for everybody to kind of put two and two together as soon as the expenditures came out. Well, I mean, it took them a little bit of time because the campaign finance report website that Secretary Allen runs is so screwed up now for whatever they've done with it that it took them a little bit of extra time to do that. But so it's so weird. The whole thing is so weird.
Yeah, I mean, again. And there's more to come on this story, by the way. There's a lot more.
And this is what primaries are for.
Some press releases
right? Primaries are for signing candidates, not
in the last few days that don't look so good. But unfortunately, we're gonna have to leave it right there. You're watching the voice of Alabama politics. We're launching a new podcast called This Matters with Bill Britt. It will air twice a week, separately from the voice of Alabama politics. Let's take a look. There's a great deal of noise in American politics right now. Loud noise, performative noise, profitable noise. But noise is not the same thing as truth, and volume is not the same thing as courage. I'm Bill Britt, and this matters. Too many people in positions of power have learned how to talk without saying anything. And too many institutions that were meant to hold them accountable have decided it's easier to look away. Somewhere along the line, we're told this is just the way it is. It isn't. It is not. A functioning democracy doesn't depend on agreement. It doesn't depend on us always getting along. It depends on honesty, and it depends on a shared understanding that facts exist, even when they're inconvenient, even when they complicate the narrative. I've always had a simple motto: report the facts, expose the truth, repeat. I started the Alabama Political Reporter and the voice of Alabama politics almost 2 decades ago, because Alabama deserved better than press releases dressed up as political news. It deserved reporting that treated the public as adults, capable of understanding complexity, contradiction, and consequences. This podcast is an extension of that same belief. I'm not here to entertain outrage. I'm not here to audition for a tribe. I'm not here to tell you what to think. I'm here to talk about power, how it's used, how it's abused, and how often it goes unchecked, simply because people are tired. Tired of fighting, tired of paying attention, tired of being told that nothing they do will matter anyway. That exhaustion is not accidental. History shows us that democracies don't usually collapse all at once. From Athens to America, they erode slowly, when standards are lowered, when accountability is optional, and when the truth becomes negotiable. And this matters. It matters because facts still matter, because accountability still matters, because self-government only works if citizens stay engaged, not enraged, not numb, but informed. This matters to me. Does it matter to you? That's This Matters with Bill Britt. Look for new episodes twice a week on YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts. Thank you.
There is a road laid out for me.
First night here, but Amy seems cool.
Leading down to the river. I am blind, but I need not see.
What do you think?
I know this road is there for me. If I'm really free, take me down to the river and walk.
Alabama has a hands-free driving law, and that means you can't hold your mobile phone while making a call. Oh, and no writing messages, recording, or watching videos either. Plus, you can only use a single button or swipe of a finger to answer a call. So what's a driver to do? Alabama's hands-free driving law is in effect. Follow it.
Welcome back to the voice of Alabama politics. I have come up with a brilliant idea to counter one of the ignorant ideas coming out of the legislature. The Alabama legislature wants to rename the Gulf of Mexico the Gulf of America. Now, the rest of the world thinks we're loco to do that, since it's been the Gulf of Mexico before it was America.
Basically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
right.
it does border
So
on
I have
Mexico.
decided that I want to name it the Gulf of Alabama. I know nobody wants to go to the Gulf of America. I do think a lot of people want to go to the Gulf of Mexico. I'm not sure that anybody wants to go to the Gulf of Alabama. Just to teach them a lesson, Josh. What do you think?
Yeah, no, nobody wants to go to the Gulf of Alabama. I'm so thoroughly confused by this performative indifference to Donald Trump. I mean, it's such a. I just don't think that people on the right fully understand how everyone else who's not in this MAGA cult that they're in looks at them with such pity and thinks of them as so pathetic and weak and this kowtowing to this ignorant stuff. Honestly, come on, this is stupid. This is a stupid person's idea. I mean, really, it is. This is a dumb person's idea to call this the Gulf of America because it's some phony patriotism. When it's what are you trying to prove? It's nonsense, and you're just doing it to placate this overgrown New York billionaire bully that has so shocked and scared you into these things that you're willing to do dumb things as a performance and dance like a chicken on a hot plate for I don't know what reason exactly. And it's just so pathetic.
Well, once again, guys, it's an election year. We're talking about midterms as well. So we've got, storming churches, we've got the Ten Commandments, and we've got Daddy Donald's love of changing the name to the Gulf of America. So guess who they're aiming at? They're aiming at his base.
Well, and they're bombing the hell out of Iran and calling it,
Oh, but it's not a war.
But not a war. But the president...
Well, it was a war. Then it wasn't a war when everybody said, hey, wait, if you're going to call it a war, then you're going to have to get some powers from Congress to call it a war. And then, well, it's not a war anymore. So.
But anyway, that's a whole nother issue because Trump was supposed to be the anti-war, the peace president. But he certainly has liked war. Now, I think this whole thing of Alabama, renaming it the Gulf of America, I mean, I think that's been conceded by the wimps in Congress and the wimps that won't stand up and say, no, it's historically,
I mean, listen, honestly, why would we expect them to stand up to this when they're not going to stand up to the child rape charges? I mean, if you're not going to protect children in these things and these women who are hundreds of women who keep showing up to these things and saying that they need to be interviewed, then why would they ever stand up to just a simple name change of the Gulf,
Well, I understand that, but I mean, I get that. It's the height of pandering. You know what I mean?
It makes our country look like idiots.
I don't know when grown men decided it was okay to kiss the butt of some fat dude who's the president. I mean, I don't care. I really don't care. I don't dislike Donald Trump. I dislike when people act like bullies and dictators. And we are a country of law.
Well, let me tell you what gets me worse than anything. What gets me worse than anything are these people that fall for this phony strength. Okay, this phony examples of strength that they have equated with somehow when you bully people and you call people names and you belittle folks and you punch down constantly and you pick on the least of us and they somehow create this image of strength around this person. While let's take somebody like President Obama or any, pretty much any other president in our past who has been a professional who has talked openly about the immigrants and about the plight of immigrants and the plight of human beings and wanting to be compassionate and caring. That takes strength. Yeah. Standing up for weak people takes strength. Not this bullshit that they're doing.
Well, and again, he's the president. I respect the presidency. But we don't kowtow, which brings me to the next segment. The ACLU of Alabama and the Birmingham Indivisible has announced this week that the No Kings 3 rally will be March 28th. It starts at 12 o'clock, goes to 2. I think the gates open at Railroad Park in Birmingham at around 11. Last year they had 5,000 people. They think they're going to have many, many more. I have been asked to speak at that event, and I readily said yes. I did not do it out of a partisan sense. I did it out of the sense that in 1776, the American people took to the streets across the country and said, no more kings. They said no to King George III. We were the first major country in the history of the world to declare that the divine right of kings does not exist, that God does not appoint a king to rule over people. We elect a president and a representative government, and we pay them to represent us, and then we can fire them if they don't do it. So I see this as a long tradition of heroic American patriots who are willing to stand up and say, no, there are no kings. There are rights of citizens to protest their government against what they consider is unfair. And that is the very essence of American patriotism in 1776 and today in 2026. And I'll yield the floor.
No, I think that's exactly right. I mean, it's that this is how we started, and it's I do want you first of all to enjoy yourself, but second of all, I do want you also to take down there an objective. An objective to these folks, that something that they need to accomplish. There needs to be a clear goal of these No Kings protests. It's nice that everybody keeps getting together and getting riled up. I love it. I do. I say that sincerely. That's not tongue in cheek. But there needs to be a goal, whether that be voter registration, getting out more people and getting them registered. Well, we got 60% of this state that doesn't participate, that's eligible to vote, and they don't participate in their elections. Yeah. We could change this state overnight if we could get half of those people out there voting. Yeah. Something has to happen. There has to be a goal here. That's what made the civil rights movement so successful. That's what's made every movement so successful, is having a goal at the end of this thing.
Anyway, I just wanted to let folks know that. It's going to be a great event. Come out. You can jeer me or cheer me. Either way, I'm going to be there speaking on behalf of the Constitution of the United States of America and the great nation that we are. You've been watching the voice of Alabama politics. You watch us because we watch them.